We're going to do how to create your own retargeting strategy. And for that, we have Vera again, so thank you very much. And we have Sylvain Etard from Tilting Point, who I did see. I think he's at the back there. All right, thank you very much. Really great to have you both on stage. So just a reminder, yeah, I'm Craig Chapple, head of content at PocketGamer.biz, but most importantly, the people next to me. If you could do some introductions yourself, you've already done your introduction.
I just talked a lot already.
But yeah, Sylvain?
Yes, let's go. So I'm Sylvain, Associate Director of Growth at Tilting Point, and we have been running retargeting for ever, basically. And that's why I'm participating in this panel here.
Great, thank you. And
I'm Vera. Nice to meet you all again. For the ones that were here already and the new faces, I'm an account manager, director at RTB House for gaming. We are retargeting the SP that specializes in programmatic advertising.
great, thank you. It's good for the video recording as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll kind of jump straight into the questions, and I guess the question I want to start with is, what is the right moment for you to start retargeting? So, do you define it by any specific KPIs or the maturity of a game? We start with
I can start, yes. You spoke a lot already, as you said. So yeah, basically, retargeting user is to recapture the churned users. And people churn from day one, basically. So as soon as you launch the game, you have some people to actually retarget. If you want to do so, it really depends on your own strategy for the game. But from even the first months of launch, it can be worth to actually launch retargeting.
Andrew?
I think that's such a mix, right? It's what I was just talking to a little bit back on my presentation just before, where this is the ideal, where we want to see retargeting complement UA and advertisers being a little bit more aggressive with it, because you just spend so much effort and budget with user acquisition campaigns. If you just sit on retargeting and let it wait for too long, you're really just missing out. So I shared just earlier that there's an average with 70% of your new installers are dropped out after 3 days. This is where retargeting should start. That's exactly where you should be at. So it's all about being a bit more quick and aggressive, I think, when we think about retargeting.
I guess that leads nicely. So, so what are your main goals with retargeting? So should you focus only on the ROAS? Or are there other metrics that are just as important?
I'm a UA manager, so yeah, ROAS. That's my golden thing. Obviously, if you want to talk to product, they can be interested in retention, and obviously I care about retention, but I care about ROAS more, so yeah.
Every time I have a call with a new advertiser to work with, we always say, so what is your goal? Is it ROAS? Of course it's ROAS. I think ROAS is definitely the main goal. But I feel like what happens though is, ROAS is usually the main goal when you first launch a campaign, but then when that campaign starts getting mature and you start looking at other bits that you can improve and how else can you support your main retargeting activity, then that's where other goals might come and other campaigns might come as well that are specific for those goals.
Forgive my naivety, but are there any other, I guess, what other metrics are there now? Like, as the mobile games industry kind of evolves, are there other things that you kind of take into consideration that are different now, or is that what's changed?
I think for us, at least we are looking more and more at time spent or time per session or whatever you want to call it, because obviously the more the user plays, the more he's engaging. But yeah, ROAS remains the golden one, sorry.
As an addition, yeah, I feel like the same for sure. I don't think there's a lot of new out in the space. We're seeing some advertisers that are a little bit more aggressive on retargeting, especially on a social casino space, where they also focus quite a lot on campaigns that are targeted at daily active users to support that activity. So whilst they have their main retargeting activity, they are a little bit more quick, and inactivity will be a little bit shorter for campaigns where they just want to focus on bringing as many users back to the game, but their value isn't so important. So we see that quite often as well.
And I guess if we kind of talk about budgets, how should you balance your retargeting and UA budgets?
I'm going to take this one.
I think you should.
So obviously, the higher the UA budget, the higher the retargeting. But it also depends about the setup you have or the strategy you have. Of course, for like hyper casual, it's going to be super different from like hardcore or casual or whatever. So I would say a good amount would be around 5 to 10%.
On retargeting? Or-
Yes.
Yeah.
But it comes back to what I just said before. It will depend on the strategy. I think anything higher than 10% would be a bit too risky. But once again, it depends on the ROAS. If you have an extremely good ROAS, go for it.
I'm curious, why do you think it's too risky? Is it because those players, because you're trying to bring them back, so then it becomes...
Yes, but a lot of the churned users, they are churned forever, and they will never come back anyway. And you can do whatever you want with them. They already played the game. They don't want to play it anymore anyway, so you can throw more money at them. They're not going to come back.
Do you reckon that is a little bit linked as well to, this is something I was talking as well on how product also has an impact on the game itself, and like why for certain games users might not want to come back. The reasons are different for everyone, right? And what you're saying, the 5 to 10%, is pretty much the most that we hear of. Lately, there are advertisers that are starting to actually spend more on retargeting than UA, and we're like, hey, that's so exciting to finally see. But the norm is obviously the lower end for sure. But if there's, more exciting updates in the game happening, and it's continuous, right? There's new levels, there's new things to do. They're welcome to the game, and know that competition is pretty tough, right? So it's hard to kind of like keep them coming back and not just going elsewhere where the fun that might be a little bit better. So I think that's probably the challenge, but I think it's all about how you can work with product as well to make sure that your game is, continues to innovate and be attractive for your players to come back.
Yeah, fully agreed. Especially on games when you have, I think there is a question to talk about later, but if you have like specific events within the game, there it's super important to actually retarget them, and then you can increase the budgets on the retargeting, definitely.
Yeah, sure.
So that is the next... We've kind of moved successfully on to the next question, which was how does product development impact your strategy? So, for example, events, game updates, or sales. We've covered a few bits there.
You
Yeah,
want to say
sure.
something?
Yeah, and the other example that I shared earlier as well, I'm sorry for those that were here, was on are you welcome back to the game? So if you're, this advertiser was telling us recently, all my castles are gone. Like, come back to the game. Like, users were playing this game. Like, all the castles are gone. Like, they have nothing else there left for them. They spend like ages like working on it, like working on a team, being part of the team on the game, and then they're not in that team anymore. They don't have their castles anymore. Why would they want to come back to the game? This is like the challenging we're having with retargeting and like product. And this is such a good example to that. I think it's really, really key that those teams are working together, 100%.
Yes, and to add to this, and to come back what I just said before, we saw what worked the best on our retargeting campaign is when we have a new map that is being released. And then we do, like you just showed before, like we do specific creatives, we do specific audiences for those people. But usually these kind of campaigns work the best. And they really allow us to really bring back users that would have not come back with just like normal creatives.
Do you, obviously we're talking about the, when you've got an update or something, that's the time to bring them back. But do you also have like a kind of a time frame that you think about generally? So you're like, okay, we've released something new, but this user kind of churned like a month ago. Is that's too soon, or is that any time's a good time to get a user back?
I mean, technically, anytime, but we can see, and I'm sure you'll see something pretty similar, is that the 7-day inactivity window is most of the time the starting point where we start retargeting, at least for us. And then we move from there. But obviously, the player that did not play for like a year, that will be super hard to retarget, and that would very likely not even be attributed to retargeting. But yes, I would say 7-day window is the starting point, definitely.
That's quite quick. And I was going to say, so I can't remember that. I had a really good question. I'll think of it again in a minute, but we've got some others. So I guess with creatives, kind of what is your approach to creatives when it comes to testing new content or ad formats?
We saw that except for specific events or new maps or new content, that the actual best UA creatives were also the best retargeting creatives. We didn't think that would happen, but turns out that if it was a really good creative once, then the user will very likely just like it again. But yeah, like I said again before, tailoring the creatives to whatever you propose new within the game can really make a big difference for the users.
It can happen that sometimes where UA creatives actually also work for retargeting. But there's so many different iterations as well, right? So what we see working really well, season pass creatives, if you have a season pass, 100%. Someone that we work with, recently we noticed, oh, there's like a huge spike of revenue every whatever period it is. What happens around this time? And they were like, oh yeah, that's our season pass time. Like, great, we need to leverage it. So, like, can we have season pass creatives? Because, you know, it's all about when is it that your users are obviously, like, more engaged and where's the highest chance of them coming back. Those work really well. Seasonal creatives, even for retargeting, there's advertisers that do this really well, where they just tag along. Even Valentine's. Valentine's was really big this year, actually, for creatives in gaming, I think. There's an advertiser on a social casino space that did creatives for Valentine's, for retargeting, with couples that have met in the game. I thought that was amazing. And it was their actual footage, so it was a video of those couples in real person giving their testimony of how they met in the game and now they're married for whatever, like 10 years. And I was like, are these people actually real? Like, did they actually meet in the game? This is so cool. So it's definitely about, you know, thinking about different things and what works for you and just, yeah, testing it out. There's some pretty cool stuff out there.
Just a small question about the Battle Pass. Do you change the inactive window when you target the user for the Battle Pass, or is it still the same?
For the Season Pass?
Yes, the Season Pass.
Sorry, yes. Well, it depends. For some advertisers, they keep the same window throughout all the time. But there are some, and back to the ones I said, I'm probably a little bit more aggressive with retargeting. When they have things like Season Pass, Battle Pass, or an event that is a bit more specific, they do sometimes run a specific campaign with a different inactivity window, specifically for that, to support that activity. So that happens as well, yes.
Good to know.
So that's really interesting. So retargeting ads are always different from your UA campaign ads, or is there like overlap there? Like how do you, and then also to your point about kind of couples that met in games, this is really interesting. Do you have a way of like splitting, trying to get my terms right, do you have a way of like splitting people into different cohorts, I guess, so they're more likely to react to this kind of retargeting ad? Like how do you kind of work that out internally?
It's a little bit tricky, but obviously you can use audiences. I mean, both adjust and Appsplayer have audiences tool, and you can play with it. But I would say for this, we always ask this kind of questions to the retargeting partner we're working with, and they always come up with good recommendation for it, tailored to our game.
Yeah. I feel like every DSP or retargeting partner will have different product that supports different things, and it's definitely worth discussing that with them if it's something you're not able to do on your end. But also, that goes back to how tracking certain events is so important, and it doesn't answer directly to cohorts, but to try and understand if there's certain behaviors of your players that you should be tracking as an event, because then it's very easy for your partners to use that event to target those players directly. So there's an advertiser, for example, where the game is very much about walking within the app. And one of the events that we used for retargeting was the distance walked. So we would only target players that have obviously met other conditions, such as an activity, you know, but also one of them was they have at least walked 5 miles within the game, because that means they're engaged and they're actually in it for the play. So that helps for sure if those can be set up in advance, yes.
And I was going to ask, so you're making an interesting point earlier in your talk, when players come back, so if they've been away for a long time as well, like do they still kind of have all the stuff, all the progress that they've made before. So how do you kind of collaborate with the teams on that? And then also, like, do you then give players kind of extra perks because they've been retargeted and they come back to help them ease back in? Or is there a process there?
I mean, yes, keeping the progress of the user is key. Like, if he comes back and he has to start over, like, it will be gone. That's almost sure. In terms of rewards, yes, that really helps on both of the US side. So they see you can get 4,000 coins or whatever, they will be happy to install again. But also it helps them engage more into the game and eventually like make another purchase or whatever. So yeah, it's super important. And how do we do this? Well, we send a Slack message to the product team and they take care of it.
That's a very good answer. So I guess where do you, bit of a broad question really, but where do you see the future of retargeting going now?
Oh, there's a lot that we could say in here. Everything's about technology, right? And like everything is AI now. Oh, like ChatGPT, IntentGPT, AI. But it was already before anyway. It's just that now we're talking about it more. For us personally, at RTB House, obviously being ahead of technology has been such a big thing. We were the first DSP to integrate deep learning algorithms way before everyone else. So one thing that I see, for example, the other day I used our platform to upload creatives, and there's already like this beta version that allows us, if we want to prompt different prompts for creative on specific ad format with AI. And I was like, great, like, every week there's something new. Every week I go in, there's something different and that is already being tested to be integrated. But Sylvain, yesterday when we talked, you said something that I thought was pretty key. Remember
this AI thing and automation?
Yeah, when you mentioned like what's important to you, just making your life easier. Everything is automated.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, like the less work we have as your manager, the better, because now we're taking like care of so many things. And well, right now the process is super manual, and it's a lot about communication between the POC and ourselves.
Yeah.
But if we can get to something like AI, automation, or whatever you want to call it, that will be extremely helpful, because, as I said, like it's a super manual process. You just look at your agencies yourself, you create agencies, you send it to the partners, then they do their thing. If there could be like something way more automated that can retrieve the events within the game, plan the creatives ahead, something like this, that would be extremely helpful. And I'm really sure that it could really be a game changer for retargeting.
Actually, is it kind of, try to word this right, if you've got the AI power, if you've got AI to help you make these, can you make even more like granular, more targeted ads that you just didn't have time to do before?
Yeah, 100%, because obviously looking at the data and all the different cohorts, all the different personas, all the different whatever you have into your games is like extremely time consuming. And if you consider that retargeting, like I said before, it's like 5 to 10% of your spend, you cannot spend like 10 hours trying to tailor a campaign that will just like improve 1% of 10%, And having automation like this really helps, because the granularity and tailoring everything, the creative, the agencies and everything is really key, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I think creatives, iteration on creatives has been quite key with AI, right? That's what everyone's talking about when we talk about AI. I feel like in our industry, that's what's now being more tested. It's for creative and iteration of creatives, because that's where teams spend quite a lot of time, and that can be done so quickly with the support of AI. So that's definitely what we should expect to see coming up the soonest, or is already happening. And then in the ideal world, more automation in general, for sure.
And I guess if teams aren't using it, should they be? I met someone yesterday, I think it was like in the lift here, and they were like, "Oh, I'm here to kind of find out if AI," and they're specifically talking about UA, like if it's an actual thing or it's just kind of overhyped. But it sounds like, from what I've been hearing from people before and now, it's like you have to be using these technologies.
I think so. It just makes life easier and quicker. You obviously use it for the right things, because I feel like you still need to have a lot of input yourself for certain things and knowing how to prompt it as well, right? Because if you're using AI, your prompt needs to be really key as well. I mean, there are now courses on prompting and how you should prompt for AI, so that's how it's developing. But I think, going back to emotion and how users feel valued and their emotions, I think AI is still not there with that. I think that's what's missing, and there still needs to be the human element and emotional intelligence to support AI with that. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but I think people should definitely be using it because for certain things in our day-to-day, it just helps it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to this, yes, like an AI is never going to be able to understand why your users stop playing the game. I mean, at least for now, it's impossible. And yes, you really need to still be able as a human to understand how it happens. But then, like you said, you can use it just to make your life easier on everything.
And I guess before we move on to the next question, we talked a lot about AI there, which is obviously a huge topic just for the industry and really everywhere. But are there any other areas you see the future of retargeting going, or is the future is AI?
No, I think in general, retargeting is starting to become way bigger in terms of budgets and how advertisers are working around it. I mean, as we were saying before, in terms of budget splits and what we see UA versus retargeting historically is that it's always been that my game is pretty new. It's only like 3 or 4 years. Like, why would I do retargeting? That's really changing now for the better, where we're starting to see advertisers doing it before their game is even launched. They're already ready to run retargeting for when that time comes. That definitely is changing. We are seeing a lot of advertisers already allocating more budget to retargeting than before, and in some cases more than what they do in user acquisition. And for games that are older, that does make a lot of sense because you know a large part of your user base. If you continue to develop your product, if your game keeps innovating and you have new levels, new things, like it's still exciting for players to come back and you have like a really loyal audience, it makes sense to continue targeting them and make sure you don't lose them. So yeah, for sure, I feel like that's the way going forward.
Yeah, I just think it's all about like tailoring and granularity. Tailoring ads to the good user, granularity of the different audiences. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Personalization is quite key, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's, we talk about it quite a bit, but I don't think we're doing it a lot yet, especially in retargeting. AI might help with that as well, but I want to leave AI on the side now. But personalization is definitely big, especially in retargeting, right? Because everyone is different. All your users might have different reasons why they're in the game, different states of the game, and it's quite important to talk to them directly as well through creative. So yeah, for sure.
I believe that something like this will happen, that at some point we may be able to integrate like some retargeting SDK within the game, and they will be able to tell us, okay, you should do this and that. Because basically data is key for retargeting, even more than for UA. And being able to know the game deeply will really help, I believe.
And one last follow-up is kind of you said more budget is going to retargeting. Is that driven by basically that UA is very expensive now? I mean, I've been hearing every year since I've been reporting on mobile, every single year it's like, it's got more expensive. Is that kind of the key driver, or is it because now like tools services like you have like that, you have new tools and services to do a better job of retargeting, I guess? What are the drivers there?
UA is definitely more expensive.
Yeah, there is I don't know if we say it in English, but there is an old adage that says it's always cheaper to keep a current customer than to acquire a new one, and it's getting more and more real year after year. I mean, I have a presentation right after, and the first slide is UA is expensive, so definitely advertisers must use retargeting to actually decrease their costs, for sure.
It's more expensive, and also it's not dedicated to those players directly. So because you will still target those players that are, that you would do through a retargeting campaign. You will still target them through a user acquisition campaign. So you will pay more for them, and also you are showing them creative that is probably not relevant to them either, or it is relevant but not personalized to an extent that is what it will probably be. Getting more into the emotional side of it, they'll be like, oh, okay, yes, like I feel like this ad is for me. I want to come back to this game. You won't do that through UA, but you will still be doing it.
And so with the recent court judgment related to Apple and Epic Games, you might have heard about this judgment. It felt like it's been burning for about 5 years and then suddenly came out of nowhere. But do you think like the importance of direct-to-consumer, is that kind of rising? And then how do you think retargeting will tie into that?
Yeah, for sure. We're both pioneers on this. 100%. One of the things that everyone is talking a little bit about this and how can advertisers explore different means of revenue that are not directly through Apple or Google Store, right, or Play Store. For example, we are together currently testing web shop where we can use Xsolar in specific as a web shop for one of the games at Tilting Point. And while we're still going through some technicalities of it and troubleshooting, it will definitely happen. It's already being under test, and it's so promising because when that happens, I mean, the benefit goes all to everyone, right? What's the difference you see between web shop and non-web shop?
I mean, not everyone, not Apple, obviously. But yes, like for example, and even for players that are still playing the game, like you show them an ad, you say, okay, you have 50% off this purchase of coins, gems, or whatever, and you direct them to the Xsolar web shop, and then you're like, great, I have more margin. So
yeah.
It's definitely a good way to actually engage the current users to the web shop you may have in the game. So yeah, obviously, it's
a win-win for everyone, right? Players, advertisers, everyone.
Pending appeal.
Yes.
I'm going to keep knocking my head on this TV, I think. Sorry, you're going to...
No, I'm good.
Oh, sorry. But I guess one of the things I was talking to you last night is with a couple of people, and they were just like, even if there's some... Well, already direct consumer is a thing. There's other ways to kind of get people to web, etc. But it was just like you kind of have to, with what's just happened, everyone's just instantly taking advantage of it as much as they can. So I guess maybe the mobile market's kind of changed for good with that.
Hopefully.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Thank you very much.